A very special guest here. Tahlia Smith was a student in my first year at Indooroopilly, so she was in year 10 at that time. We actually went to Spain together. She'd recognise the venue there that the students recently attended. And Tahlia, so I would say she's a very impressive person, and I'm about to tell you all the reasons why she's impressive. Yeah, I'll do that first. So Tahlia Smith is an international affairs practitioner with expertise in Latin America and the Asia Pacific. She graduated from the Spanish Immersion Program in 2012 and from Indooroopilly State High School in 2014. After high school, Tahlia studied a Bachelor of International Studies and a Diploma of Languages at the University of Queensland. In 2022, she was named Queensland's Rhodes Scholar and moved to the United Kingdom to undertake a Master of Science in Global and Area Studies and a Master of Public Policy at the University of Oxford. During her studies, Tahlia worked with a UK academic think tank in global security and represented academia at multiple United Nations conferences in Geneva. Throughout her career, she has worked across diplomacy, international trade, education, AI policy and global security, including roles with the Australian, Ecuadorian and French governments, as well as UNESCO. Tahlia currently works at the University of Oxford in organised crime research. She speaks 5 languages and is passionate about bringing empathy and understanding to public policy, as well as bridging the gap between government and community. So I'm going to skip over some of these slides, Tahlia, and you'll forgive me. This is something that you put on social media a little while ago. Don't be embarrassed. But also, so from 2023, I saw this little snip here, and I just think Tahlia is such a wonderful advocate for languages, and it's so nice to have her back here. So please make her feel very welcome to the stage.
Thank you. That was a very beautiful introduction, and I'm very pleased to be back here today at Indooroopilly. It was a very formative time of my life, and you saw a little 14-year-old me covered in pimples, so I hope I've matured a little bit since then. I also want to give a big shout out to whoever chose the Luis Miguel song for the Spanish immersion video. Someone has a very good taste. I would also like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet today, the Yagara and Turrbal peoples, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Something I was really grateful for in my time at Indooroopilly was the great respect we have here for our First Nations people and the work that the staff and students do together for reconciliation. So congratulations to the 2025 graduates of Indooroopilly's Programs of Excellence. Felicidades a todos los alumnos. This is an outstanding achievement. Learning a foreign language in Australia is not easy. Unlike in many parts of the world, you can't just hop on a train, cross a border, and practice ordering a coffee in another language. If you want immersion here, it usually comes in the form of very patient teachers, long vocabulary lists to practice in front of the mirror, and the occasional questioning of your life choices. Believe me, I know. When I started learning Spanish in Indooroopilly, no one in my family had ever traveled overseas, let alone spoke another language. So at home, this meant that I was often practicing my verb conjugations in front of a very confused audience. I remember many moments where I was absolutely certain I would never fully understand the differences between ser and estar, and seriously considered giving up. But what carried me through were the commitment of my teachers, such as Jack Tory, and the gradual realization that language learning is not about perfection, but about connection, leaning into discomfort and persistence. It's now been 13 years since I graduated from the Spanish Immersion Program, and it's no exaggeration to say that learning another language completely reshaped the direction of my life. For example, the opportunity that started my professional career was a direct result of my language skills. Straight after university, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was applying for jobs like a maniac, And fortunately, because I was one of the few Australians that spoke Spanish, I was hired to work for the government of Ecuador during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the height of the crisis, with international borders closed, we desperately needed to negotiate a bilateral transit agreement between the governments of New Zealand and Ecuador to enable stranded citizens to get home. To accomplish this, I found myself in meetings with very tired and very stressed bureaucrats, all calling from different time zones, all speaking different languages, and my role often involved running the meetings, translating both in real time and also important legal documents with tight time frames. None of this work was glamorous, and it was extremely urgent, but language was what allowed these conversations to happen at all. It made it possible to cut through confusion, reduce frustration, and build bridges between governments from opposite sides of the globe so that they could work together and get stranded people home. Languages have a funny habit of opening doors that you didn't even know existed, which you'll find in your future careers. Further in my career, Spanish made it much easier to learn French, which qualified me to work for the French government in education. Similarly, it made it easier to learn Portuguese, which opened the door to my current role at the University of Oxford, where I research organised crime networks using Portuguese language sources. So this is not something I ever imagined myself doing in high school. The languages have a way of leading you down new and interesting paths. It's important to recognise that your time in the programs of excellence has given you far more than just technical language proficiency. It's equipped you with cultural competence, the ability to understand how language, history, and culture shape how people think, communicate, and work, helping you appreciate and value diversity and difference, and also allowing you to be open to other people's perspectives, even when they're different from your own. This is an incredibly important skill in our ever-globalised world. I really came to value the skill when I worked for the Australian government as a manager in international trade. In this role, I was often asked to help resolve misunderstandings between our Australian and our overseas teams. Most of the conflicts weren't caused by bad intentions, but by very different ideas about communication, hierarchy, and even what a quick meeting means. So language training teaches you to notice these differences and navigate them with empathy. Languages have also allowed me to access people and places I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. I was able to stay in a traditional hut with an indigenous Kanak community in New Caledonia, not as a tourist, but as someone who could build trust with people and become part of the group. Likewise, they helped me bridge the gap between American charities and rural Ecuadorian families working on social entrepreneurship, where misunderstandings were cultural rather than technical. And more recently, they've even allowed me to communicate directly with normally reserved Chinese officials on issues as complex as inequality in outer space governance. So these experiences taught me that language is not just a tool for communication, but a way of signaling respect, building shared understanding, and creating space for meaningful collaboration across very different worlds. Apart from my career, language learning has also greatly impacted my day-to-day life. Languages have enabled my sister, who also learnt Spanish at Indrapilli, and I to be able to have secret conversations without anyone else understanding. They opened up new facets of my personality. Australian Tahlia, that is more serious and rigid, could also become Spanish Tahlia, who is more extroverted and open, making me a more confident, well-rounded, and adaptable person. Languages also helped me make so many friends from all over the world. People really value when you can connect with them in their own language, especially here in Australia, where very few native English speakers can speak other languages or show an interest in other cultures. I will warn you though, similar to what Professor Hange mentioned, there are some monolinguals, so people who only speak one language, who disparage language learning, saying, why put in the effort when online translators exist? And while tech is a very helpful tool, it will never replace the connection, community building, and cultural nuance that knowing a foreign language provides. So thanks to my time studying Spanish at Indrapilli, I went from the before shy 14-year-old that had barely left Brisbane to a 28-year-old that has lived, worked, and studied in 8 countries, and has the confidence now to go out and seek new opportunities, embrace the unknown, and connect with people from different backgrounds. To conclude, I just wanted to say that no matter whatever path you take, whether into public service, business, science, or fields that don't even exist yet, knowing another language will enable you to move through the world as more engaged, connected, and empathetic global citizens. And the effort that you've invested here will continue to take you further than you can currently imagine. Thank you.
Well, that was way more inspiring than I could have imagined. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tahlia. All right, we are in the final stretch.